we've actually got a fire in the stand on the far side of the ground. And that looks very nasty indeed.
I shouted out and threw myself over the wall.
Human beings seeing human beings in trouble.
It was total mayhem to be honest.
There were people just everywhere.
You never forget something like that.
We were the lucky ones.
It's a catastrophe.
Probably the worst day ever. I think that's how you can describe it, the worst day ever.
People have been proud to be a member of a club representing this city. They are passionate, they're desperate for their team to do well, and the fact that they can still pull in 18,000 fans shows that they should be definitely in a higher division than they are now. They stick with the team and they don't give them too much stick, funnily enough, from the terrace. They sort of understand that these are better players than they ever could have been. There are some grounds you go to, some of the modern grounds, which aren't particularly homely, they're functional. This is definitely homely. I'm John Helm. I've been a journalist and broadcaster since 1959, so 66 years in total so far. I'm a proud Bradfordian, I really am. And when we go abroad, I'll say, when people say, where are you from? I say, Bradford, we won the cup in 1911.
My name is John Dewhurst. I've supported City since 1972. Followed them through thick and thin, probably more thin than thick. Bradford was a city of the Industrial Revolution.
With the whole world customer for her goods, this was a land humming with activity.
Before the First World War, it was regarded as one of the richest provincial cities in England. In the same way that the city grew through industrial development, its decline in the last 60 years or so has really mirrored the demise of industry and the demise of the textile industry.
Bradford was my city. Bradford really was terrific. The old trams, the trolley buses. Some wonderful old hotels, Swan Arcade. It had famous people, Delius, J.B. Priestley. And I was always proud to say, I'm from Bradford.
In the 19th century, Bradford attracted a lot of inward immigration from the rest of the British Isles and Ireland. There were also Germans who came across through involvement in the textile trade.
We all talk about this, the fact you could leave your door open at night, and if you wanted a bag of sugar, you went up the road and asked the neighbour. A great, great community. Bradford had that reputation of being a very homely city.
Post-war, there were East Europeans displaced because of the war, and then new Commonwealth immigrants, predominantly from Kashmir, Pakistan. By the mid-80s, Bradford was really looking for a new identity. textile industry had collapsed, and there was high levels of unemployment, high levels of poverty and deprivation.
Too much fighting on the dance floor.
Bradford was relatively run down. It was not untypical of other cities, towns in the north of England. Bradford City was formed in 1903. It was promoted by the Football League to try and introduce soccer to West Yorkshire. The club eventually secured promotion to the First Division in 1908. It was able to generate some momentum that culminated in winning the FA Cup in 1911. By 1914, it had an ageing squad, and the war had a massive impact on the club in terms of its finances and the need to rebuild the team. And by the time that peacetime football was resumed in 1919, the club was again struggling. It was impoverished. It lost its First Division status in 1922, and the story thereafter, really, down to the 1980s, was one of continued decline.
I went to school at Lickrock, which is about 1.5 miles away from here. I'm Peter Jackson. I played for Bradford City back in the 80s and 90s, got voted the best looking manager in England in early 2000s. I became a footballer back in 1977, I think I signed. By the time I was nearly 17, I made my league debut. 18, I was captain of the football club. And we'd have some good seasons, we'd have a dog cup run now and again, but basically we were stuck in the lower divisions.
To Ratcliffe. Well challenged by Allenson, it's a good shot. It's in! Well, that was well played as the Bradford City played it around at the back just once too often.
Growing up as a kid in Liverpool with the side, and they were the European champions, and we actually drew them in August in the first round of the League Cup.
Now Dalglish, across the face of the goal! It's there, Dalglish!
To be actually on the same field as like people like Souness and Rush and Dalglish, it were incredible.
Well done, Liverpool!
Yet to go on and actually beat them was even more incredible. I think there was 17,000, biggest crowd I've ever played in front of.
There was something about City at that time, and when Roy McFarlane took over, you thought, no, they're going somewhere here, because he was a top man.
To Cook, good back header, Campbell, oh, he lets fly first time! Oh, what a way to finish the season! The crowd are on the pitch, scenes of jubilation at Valley Parade you couldn't possibly have imagined.
We scored, I think, the last kick of the game.
The game hasn't finished and there must be at least 300 or 400 supporters out on the pitch.
In 1982 we won promotion to the third division.
And there goes the whistle. Bradford City are in the third division. Bobby Campbell is the man who's taken them there. He got both their goals. And what a dream end to the season for Roy McFarlane. Bradford's player manager in his first season with the club has taken them up.
That was a gantry there where the announcement box is there. There was a gantry there and we stood on there and celebrated with the fans.
Great great moments these for a club that haven't had a lot to sing about in recent times.
That was my first success as a player or doing anything, was that promotion that season.
We leave you with these memorable scenes from Valley Parade and the final scoreline: Bradford City 2, Bournemouth 2, both sides win promotion.
The club had always been impoverished for as long as supporters could remember. There were no funds. There had been an absolute reluctance on the part of local businessmen to invest their own monies.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I want money.
The story of finance at Valley Parade was really about survival.
That's what I want.
I can remember doing stories 2 or 3 times where they were going to go into liquidation.
The club had come very, very close to insolvency during the 1960s and again in the 1970s. Finally, in 1983, it had been placed into insolvency.
Will they survive at all? Will we have a football club to follow?
So winding up order may not in fact jeopardise the position at the end of the day anyway. The fact that we've gone through the receivership route and effected the hive down, as we call it, then that hopefully will get round the problems of the winding up order.
Me and Alison went away on holiday. I rang my dad, I said, Dad, are you all right? Yeah. He said, don't bother coming home, club's gone bust.
The city's commercial radio station, Pennine Radio, last week combined with the Save City appeal with their own on-air appeal. And today all the club's players piled into the station to join Sports Chief Tony Delahunty to make a direct appeal to the public.
That's just how you've been feeling recently?
Well, obviously the lads are in fear of losing the job.
The boys that they had around at that time, some of them were very young players.
Hopefully. I mean, that's not certain in itself.
I'm Tony Delahunty. In 1985, I was sports editor at Bradford's radio station, Pennine Radio.
Going to actually man the telephone lines and talk to the public and see what donations they're going to give you. Have you done anything like that before ever, Peter?
I don't think any of the lads have, no, Tony, but we'll be on the phone between 4 and 8 o'clock, is it?
Well, you will be today. We're going to be starting more or less right away on that, and you're also going to go on a rota system right the way through.
That's right, yeah, so get your best voices on, lads.
Hello, Radio Pennine.
Your love gives me such a thrill.
Bye-bye. Denise, £4.
Some of them were brilliant on the phones as well. I think our sales manager just tried to sign a couple up and said, leave football, come and work here.
Bradford City needs to exist. I mean, they've been going now for 8 odd years and it'd be a shame to see them go under. Everybody obviously would be out of a job for a start, but basically Bradford needs a football club.
He was in big trouble. He was in desperate trouble. It could have gone.
But me and all the players who were involved at the club and the staff were wondering, do we have a job or do we start the new season as a Football League club? So it's a really big worry.
I've got a certificate on my toilet wall for the £20 that I donated to the appeal.
We had a lot of support, we had a lot of help, and luckily we did survive.
A new board had been constituted. A former owner of the club, Stafford Eade, had returned.
Stafford Eade was incredibly ambitious.
We're not prepared to go out and borrow big sums of money on short-term investment. Everything that we do is planned, we're patient.
Likeable rogue, often people used to say, but he was better than that actually.
Stafford had a very big personality, but he was certainly a man with a lot of energy. He was a man with a massive conviction about the football club. He was a very, very passionate supporter.
We're not looking to sack managers and players and scouts and staff.
Maybe Marmite, you either liked him or you hated him.
What was Stafford like?
I nearly said no comments.
Oh, Stafford was a character. He had a wig, obviously, but you couldn't mention the wig in front of him. The worst wig you would ever see on a human being.
We're giving people the chance to do their jobs and hopefully it's going to bear fruit.
But he was such a good guy and he was such a character. And that's what I think the club needed, a big personality leading the club. And Stafford did that.
How can you have a wonderful name like Stafford Eade and not be different?
A lot of people have their own views on Stafford. I'm Dave Evans, played for Bradford City from 1984 until 1991, I think. He used to come in to the changing rooms before a game and he used to say, right lads, he said, if you win today, there's 200 quid to share between you. We had a little bit of a keepy-uppy down in the corner down there, and Stafford came up in his kit. He had his Bradford City kit on and we were having a keepy-uppy and we were all heading it back to Stafford trying to get him to head the ball to knock his wig off, but he never did. He'd just stand away like this, you know.
We had some good times. He made a speech when I left and it was rather nice, and he winked at me when he made it. So I said to him afterwards, did you actually mean anything you said then? He said, what do you think? I still don't know to this day.
His heart was in this football club, there's no question about it. He was larger than life and he was one of those, he loved to go into the dressing room. Yeah, he might be a jersey toucher, but he was so enthusiastic.
No one was under any illusion that the ground was inadequate, it would have to be rebuilt. But at the same time, there was also an acute awareness of the fact that the money did not exist. Valley Parade was first used as a sporting venue in 1886. It was very basic. By 1985, most generations would recognise the ground as being familiar to them when they were kids, or what their parents and grandparents had been familiar with. The ground was gradually becoming derelict and just very expensive to maintain by virtue of the fact that it was built on the slope and the structures were very old. Nobody had the expectation that there could be a radical redevelopment of the ground. We didn't have the imagination, we didn't have the funds, and the supporters were pretty much unanimous, myself included, that if there were any surplus funds, they had to be invested in the team to secure promotion. We were under no illusions that the ground needed to be changed, but there was maybe a sense of denial, maybe a sense of wishful thinking that it wasn't the priority that probably should have been. By 1984, Trevor Cherry and Terry Yorath had assembled a young squad. And there was a lot of hope, there was a lot of optimism.
They'd just signed Greg Abbott, Martin Singleton and John Hendry from Coventry City. I think they were all about 20. And then you got Stuart McCall, who come through the ranks. He was about 19, 20. Mark Ellis, he was only about 21, 22, something like that at the time. Chris With, he was a young lad. Eric McManus was probably the older statesman of the team. And then there was Bobby Campbell, John Hawley, myself. You know, we were 25, 26 years of age. But then the rest of the team, it was a bunch of youngsters. A great mix of youth and experience in the team.
Well, we were all young lads apart from Bobby and I. I'm John Hawley and I was playing for Bradford City from 1983 to 1985. Trevor Cherry, I played with him at Leeds and he was manager here, and he and Taff invited me to come and join the club. Great atmosphere, great camaraderie. The dressing room was fantastic, and it was really great to be involved in it.
Got a lot of characters in there. Bobby Campbell was a character, John Hawley was a character, Jacko was a character, Stuart McCall is a character, John Hendry is a character. The people who've got characters about them, you know, that get you through the hard times on a football pitch.
We had a real spirit and camaraderie within the club.
It was the best changing rooms there ever was. You know, we all got on well together. We played on a Saturday, we went out on a Saturday night, we all went into town for a drink and everything. All the wives got on well together.
We certainly knew how to celebrate. I was pretty good at that myself.
We didn't start off very well. We just hit a rhythm. All of a sudden the team clicked.
So Greg Abbott steps up and gives Bradford the lead 1-0.
We just turned up, played the game, won the game and gone to the next game.
The team itself always felt we could win a game.
And here's Hendry again and Abbott coming forward. 2-0. Abbott's second.
Every game we went to, we were the underdogs more or less in every game, but we kept winning games after game after game.
Never thought we were going to lose.
That's right. Henry once again, and Bobby Campbell stoops to conquer 3 in 7 minutes.
That season, I think we had 14 or 15 players that played. People didn't get injured.
We never had set our target we'd win the championship, but I knew at Christmas time we'd do it.
Bradford top of the 3rd division for the first time ever.
Yes, I think it's a proud moment more for the city, and because we were nearly, as you know anyway, it's a long story, on our knees last year. We recovered, the club's financially okay, and as you say, we're on top of the league.
Terry Yorrith, Trevor Cherry, Stuart McCall, Peter, brilliant.
There was a vibrancy about Bradford City in those days, and it was a real privilege to be up here on this gantry commentating on fabulous players.
They were brilliant to work with, absolutely brilliant. Oh, you didn't always get what you wanted, and once or twice I was sort of chased out of the building.
They were bonded together, they were a unit.
A desire to really do well.
The spirit in that team was quite unique, and by, I think it was November of 1984, the club went top of the 3rd division, and we dared to believe.
Went to Cambridge, and I think I'd win and secure our promotion. I think we beat them 4-0 or 3-0. And I always remember my dad and my 2 brothers running on the pitch at the end of the game at Cambridge, as well as hundreds and thousands of City fans.
I still remember to this day Stafford Higginbottom bounding up the steps to get on the radio quickly when he knew that for the first time in 50 years, Bradford City were going to grace that was the 2nd tier of British football.
Well, they haven't had too many promotions in their time, so when something like that happens, it's more meaningful than it is for a lot of other clubs who regularly have won promotion.
I think we had a chance of going on, but I didn't think we'd do as well as we did do. A wonderful thing to be a group of players to go on and achieve what we did. Well, nobody fancied it whatsoever.
One of the best nights in football, that. One of the best nights ever in football. I remember coming back on the coach, and we stopped at an off licence. They bought, I don't know how many cans of lager. We got back to the ground, and it must have been 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we went to Caverns, and we had a great night. We're all in our tracksuits, Bradford City tracksuits, and we're singing Shout.
You know you make me wanna shout, look my hands jumping.
Great night, great night.
It does bring people together, there's no question about it. Success will do, of course it will. Yeah, we all want to talk about the good times, and that carries on forever. You'll never forget certain matches, certain days.
There's a euphoria from the day they knew they were up. We've made it the week special. Early mornings we're talking Bradford. There's only one topic, isn't there? It's a city of triumph. A city of triumph. They were having heaven on earth. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. Even if you weren't a natural football supporter, you felt that Bradford City was going someplace.
We went down to Cambridge, won 4-0, and then we went on a bit of a downer. We lost about 2 or 3 games on the trot. It was looking a bit dodgy whether we were going to win the championship. And I always remember we were playing away at Bolton Wanderers, and Trevor hadn't been playing in the team, and he decided to pick himself that game against Bolton, and we won the game 2-0. That clinched the championship for us, really.
It was such an occasion for us to actually go on and win it. We fought in the 15 players that we did, and we were all looking forward to the presentation on the last game against Lincoln.
I remember sitting in the office with John Helm, and we looked at the fixtures. Obviously wanted to do a meaningful game. I'm Robert Charles. I was sports editor at Yorkshire Television in 1985.
It was a meaningless match in terms of City had already won the championship. Lincoln were going nowhere that particular season. But it was still a story, the fact that Bradford City had won the promotion, and there was nothing else particularly on that day that demanded our attention. So why not? Let's go and have a day of jubilation and celebration.
Two teams from the two big cities in our region, big celebration. We were going to be part of that, and it was just a natural as a local programme. Well, I'm Graham Ironside. In 1985, I was head of regional programmes for Yorkshire Television. It was going to go out on the Sunday night as a special hour celebrating Bradford's success as the league champions. And of course we were recording on site, it wasn't live, it was all being recorded on site.
The day started in Bradford. We had a production meeting.
Good little team. John Helm, of course, Peter Jones, sadly no longer with us, and Robert and myself. We met up at some greasy spoon in Bradford, bacon butties, pots of coffee, lovely, beautiful spring morning, a lovely crisp morning, and off we set, full of high hopes.
It was a really warm day, and everybody was happy and looking forward to just being here and being a part of it and recording it for posterity.
We got ourselves to our positions in the outside broadcast unit, ready for the players to come out to receive the trophy.
Total euphoria. We haven't had too many times to celebrate like that. So everybody was in a great mood.
This is the moment that Bradford has dreamed about for 48 years. The club is going back into the second division, and this, in fact, Bradford City's first championship win of any sort since 1929, when they won the third division north. Mr. Dick Ragg, representing the Football Association, is about to make the presentation. Mr. Stafford Eade, the chairman of Bradford, giving the trophy a little kiss, and who can blame him? The man who has twice rescued the club. And this, certainly a very proud moment for everybody connected with Bradford City Football Club.
Well, that's when you realise that you are a Bradfordian and this is a part of history.
The championship trophy for the winners of the third division, and Bradford City, a moment of glory for them. They couldn't possibly have dreamt of this 20 months ago. The old club went into liquidation, and now they're on their way back into Division 2 after 48 years away. And aren't those supporters happy? They're not showing just how ecstatic they are at the moment. There's one flag waving there. But believe you and me, this is a terrific day for everybody connected with Bradford City.
Lincoln were a part of it because they were quite safe. They had nothing to worry about on the day. It didn't matter who won. We were purely here to record the presentation of the trophy and to congratulate one of our teams on what they'd achieved.
And here come the men who've made it possible, led by player-manager Trevor Cherry. Behind him, Terry Yorath, his right-hand man. And now they're happy. And this must be the happiest moment for Trevor Cherry and his players. Some of these players didn't have a future in the game 2 years ago. Now they know they've got a terrific future. And those people will be watching the likes of Leeds United here next season, and Sheffield United and Barnsley. And these players will all be a part of Bradford City's future. Peter Jackson there, the youngest captain ever of the club at 19.
This was a big occasion, not for only for Bradford City, but for Bradford people to know that we'd won an actual championship. But to come particularly from the Bradford area and go to school in Bradford, it meant a lot to myself.
And this is the moment that Dick Ragg hands over the third division trophy to Bradford's captain, Peter Jackson. He says well done, the crowd say well done, and those are joyous scenes at Valley Parade. The applause richly merited.
To actually get presented in front of the A block where Stafford and a guy from the Football League came to give me the trophy, and the lads, knowing that all our parents were sat right behind us in A block. It was a wonderful occasion.
The sun shining at Valley Parade and the smile on Peter Jackson's face and the kiss say it all.
They wanted to present the trophy before the game. I still don't know why that was. Usually the trophy is presented at the end of the game.
The joyful captain is lifted high, the fans applaud, and Bradford City about to play their last game in the third division, and they hope it's their last third division game for a long, long time.
It's the only trophy ever lifted as a player.
So the lap of honour starts appropriately with Stuart McCall, the young man who has risen to international recognition in this third division side, and we won't be able to say third division for much longer.
It was going to be my last match because we got promoted and they've got more money, so therefore they could afford a better player than me. So I was on the way out. I remember running around the pitch and thinking, well, I won't be doing this again. For me, it was mixed feelings because A, I was out of work, and B, I was leaving a dressing room I really enjoyed.
We went round the ground showing the trophy to all the supporters. Great celebration of what we'd done all through the season, really. I remember we all had a plaque and we stood in the middle of the ground that said thank you.
I don't know who came up with that idea.
People were coming up to me and saying, you should interview him. He's come from Sierra Leone here today. I remember seeing a guy hug somebody else and he said, last time I saw you, we were at school together. Where the hell have you been? He said, I live in Australia now. He said, but I was down in London coming to have a couple of days and I had to be here. I had to be here. It was a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful day. There was nothing at stake. Well, there was. In the world of fate, people's lives were at stake.